Hello everyone, welcome to the top 25 songs of 2020. These are objective. You cannot disagree with them under any circumstances. That is why our lists are exactly the same. I guess we'll just get into it. We'll get into it.
Number 25, Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats with Diet. My personal favorite off of Denzel and Kenny Beats EP. Got some fun beats. Denzel's got some great raps. There is the bar where he says he doesn't like Pixar, but it's okay. Still a fire song.
You know, just let the man have his opinion, okay?
He doesn't like Pixar. Every time I hear the song, I'm like, why don't you like Pixar, man? They make good movies.
All right, number 25 for me, I have After Hours by The Weeknd. This track is like a wonderful kind of atmospheric R&B track that kind of encapsulates what I love about The Weeknd. It's just so easy to kind of like vibe along to, and it's great.
24, I have CHIKA with Balencies. Balencies my personal favorite off the EP. Great beat, a pretty personal lyrical content that CHIKA is able to paint a pretty vivid picture of quite well. Very, very impressive track.
My number 24 is Holiday by Lil Nas X. This is just like one of the most fun songs to come out all year. I can't get enough. Lil Nas X's charisma is just infectious. I love it.
Number 23, I have experimental rock band Horse Lords with Fanfare for Effective Freedom. This is the opener off their new album, and my personal favorite. It's got all the kind of wonkiness they're going to expect from this album, and it's a really, I think, well put together track.
My number 23 is Sister's Blade by Zora Jones. I love this like experimental electronic song. It has just these fluttering synths all over it with these really deep and heavy sounding bass lines. It's just great track.
At number 22, I have Aesop Rock with Koshi. I really love the production on this track. Aesop is obviously a very talented rapper and lyricist, but the production with these kind of chopped vocal samples really makes this track for me. It's pretty fun, great track.
Number 22 for me is The Void by Kid Cudi. This is just like, this song is such a vibe. This entire song just kind of feels like you're falling as you're like surrounded by this wonderful psychedelic trap. Is cool.
At number 21, Six Impala with Epsilon Love. This track is such a banger. You just dance to it, and then you dance more. So much fun. Love it. Love you.
Number 21 for me is Can I Believe You by Fleet Foxes. Fleet Foxes just create such incredibly like rich atmosphere to their folk music. I just love how gorgeous everything sounds on this track. It's super easy to just like relax to everything.
At number 20, I have Quelle Chris and Chris Keys featuring Pink Sifu and Billy Woods with Grease from the Elbows. This is a very dark sounding track with a bass line and slow piano. And of course, Quelle, along with the features on this track, excellent lyricism all around.
My number 20 is Health with DF Looks. This is just a super encompassing trap song almost. It has this just rumbling bass that continues throughout it just gets stuck in my head. I love just kind of like vibing out to this track.
Number 19, I have Haru Nemuri with Pink Unicorn. Pink Unicorn, it's got the grooves on it, but it also has Haru's great vocal delivery. She sounds great. Very catchy hook. Love the track.
Number 19, I have Troubles Coming by Royal Blood. This is just a super slick, catchy rock track. It's so infectious and catchy. I love the electric guitar tone used throughout. The super melodic vocals are fantastic. A great track.
Number 18, I have Arca featuring Rosalía KLK. This is a banger to end all bangers if I've ever heard one. It's got such great instrumentation. Feels like Final Boss music in a way. A really great track. Love it so much. Banger.
At number 18, I have Dua Lipa with Physical. This is easily one of the best pop songs of the year. It's so catchy and infectious. It's a fucking banger. What more you want from a cool pop song? It's fun. I like how tongue-in-cheek the music video is.
Number 17, I have the Flaming Lips with Mother I've Taken LSD, taking a break from the bangers on the list to get a much slower track. This new Flaming Lips record has quite a few tracks dealing with the negative effects of drugs and how they can really change our lives for the worst. But I think this track, Mother I've Taken LSD, really encapsulates that the best. It has this dreamy instrumental combined with these very forlorn lyrics and makes for overall a great track.
At number 17 for me, I have Flat Earth by Clowncore. This is one of the most chaotic tracks I've heard all year. It has super aggressive experimental electronic synths all throughout, but also you have a super catchy saxophone on this track and drums and cowbell, I think, at one point. It's so chaotic and like weird and engaging. It's great.
At number 16, I have Against All Logic with Fantasy. This Against All Logic song leads off the new album, does a great job setting the tone, the vibe. It's got that dancey, fun quality using these Beyonce sampled vocals, and it's complemented by these glitchy electronic experimentation. And the two elements combine very well together. Really great track.
At number 16, I have Yves Tumor with Gospel for a New Century. I love this infectious mix of soul music and psychedelic music and pop too. It's so catchy. I love the bass on the track. It has wonderful production all over it. Man, it just has such a unique sound to it that I think is really unlike any other artist out there currently.
Number 15, I have Buscabulla with Club Tuyo. This is a very solemn track about wanting to just be together with the person you love through everything, no matter what happens. I really like how this song sonically puts you in the mindset of being alone with someone else. It has this gorgeous backing instrumentation with very solitary lead vocals. The singing's great, the instrumentation's great. Really fantastic song.
Yeah, for number 15, I have Bring Me the Horizon with Dear Diary. This song just gets my fucking blood pumping every time I listen to it. It's so aggressive. Bring Me the Horizon brought on Micah Gordon to produce for the song and the rest of the songs on the EP, and it just leads to this incredibly aggressive and in-your-face electronic metal music that is really fantastic.
Number 14, I have BAMBARA with Stay Cruel. While this is not my favorite off the new BAMBARA album, it is certainly my favorite that came out this year. This track is about the narrator becoming infatuated with a stripper at a strip club, so if you like that lyrical content, BAMBARA's got you covered. What really makes this track is the lead singer's vocal delivery. He has this country-ish, almost storytelling delivery. They have these choir-like female backing vocals. They add a lot of dimensionality to this track while layered on top of BAMBARA's very dark and heavy instrumentation.
For number 14, I have Looking Like Meat by Clipping. This track just kind of combines all of the elements that I love about Clipping. It has these super aggressive in-your-face synths that are just insanely distorted. I love the percussion on this track. It's really impactful. And David's like super cold and like almost emotionless rapping is like, it works with the track and the pretty gruesome subject matter incredibly well.
Number 13, I have Illuminati Hotties with Content Bedtime. Illuminati Hotties came out with this track that's almost Gorilla Toss-ish, buying this zany production with these super catchy shouted vocals that are shouted and repeated. It's just an all-around really fun, really catchy song. They keep making tracks like this. I think Illuminati Hotties are definitely a band to look out for in the future.
Number 13 for me is Violent Sun by Everything Everything. This song just kind of puts me in like this very melancholic mood. It has these very kind of 80s sounding synths on it. It feels very like fast paced and this one was kind of a mess. I also love the vocals on it. They're just so sweet and like longing feeling. It is a great track.
At number 12, I have Idols with Model Village. This is a very politically charged track from Idols off of their new LP, and I interpret this track to be a critique on right-wing conservatism and traditionalism. It touches on many of the band's problems with the right online, such as model race, model hate, model village. You can't argue with that, folks. The track also managed to be very fast-paced, very fun, and really well put political points through this model village metaphor.
Number 12 for me, I have Rewild by Lee Owens. This is just a wonderful, like, vibe of a track. It has these, like, shimmering synths all over it, especially during the chorus. It contributes to this very, like, cerebral and relaxing feeling that the track creates, and I think it's really fantastic.
Number 11, I have Clipping with Say the Name. This is the first proper track of the new horrorcore Clipping album. This Candyman-inspired song has one of my favorite instrumentals off the album, and the pitch-shifted, repeated vocals that act as a hook, I think add a lot to the track. David Diggs, he's as good as ever, and it's just a super catchy, super fun track.
My number 11, I have Charli XCX with Anthems. This is like a fantastic rave banger, essentially, while also addressing a lot of the feelings that occur in quarantine and the desire to, like, get out and just party, and it's a banger.
Entering the top 10 now, at my number 10, we have SAULT with I Just Want to Dance. This is perhaps one of the more accessible songs that SAULT released this year, but I'm a huge fan of how this track blends a more danceable instrumental with a powerful message of how people, specifically black people and minorities, just want to dance. They want to be able to enjoy life and not be afraid of getting shot in the streets and prejudice and all these political issues. It's a fun track on the surface with a much deeper and darker subtext.
My number 10 is Bittersweet by Lianne La Havas. This is just a fantastic neo-soul R&B track. It's super rich sounding and gorgeous, and Lianne's vocals are incredibly vivid. She has so much range on this track. Yeah.
At number 9, I have Blu Exile featuring Jacinto Rines with Roots of Blue. This is a little bit over 9-minute long track in which Blu recounts his history, the people and historical figures that he believes are his ancestors, mostly metaphorically. These include ancient gods and kings and religious figures and musicians. This track features an incredibly well executed instrumental and some very eloquent commentary on history and how the effects of history can be felt today, specifically talking about movements like colonialism, which have had some very negative effects still in the modern day.
Number 9 for me, I have Time by Arca. This is a wonderfully produced track. It's very calm and relaxing. It's a very interesting tone shift from the previous track in the record. And you just have these shimmering synths all over it and these wonderfully, like, spacey and echoey vocals from Arca that really create a very unique sound, I think.
At number 8, I have Dua Lipa with Levitating. This is easily my favorite straight pop song of the year. New Dua Lipa album full of bangers, of which Levitating is by far my favorite. The production gets you moving right from the get-go. It's got these fantastic synth lines, super catchy hook, great vibe, great tune, consistently fun throughout the song. Love it so much.
Number 8 for me, I have Shook by Tkay Maidza. This is an incredible banger of a song. It has this, like, rumbling bass throughout. Tkay has amazing charisma and personality all over the track. It's just, it's super, like, infectious and catchy.
Coming in at number 7, I have False Noise with Collapse Theme. Collapse Theme is a 7-minute long foray into these dense layers of electronic production, very thick atmospheres. This track goes through many different sections, each with a unique feel to it. There are times where there's chopped vocals or just layers and layers of noise. It manages to be compelling throughout, and I'm just left in awe of the amount of work this track must have taken to make.
Number 7 for me, I have Stay Cruel by BAMBARA. Brendan mentioned this song earlier, but I absolutely love it. It has this, like, I would consider this track almost like neo-western sounding. You have a super charismatic, interesting lead vocal performance from their lead singer that just helps you get, like, enveloped into this world that he creates. The guitar work is luscious sounding, I guess. It has this very dark atmospheric sound to it that I think really gives this track a lot of personality. I love the harmonized vocals on the chorus. It's great.
Number 6, R.A.P. Ferreira with Cycles. It's very hard to pick a favorite track off of this new R.A.P. Ferreira project, considering it feels like a very cohesive listening experience. But Cycles is a track that keeps me coming back. This track sticks out as having some incredible production that really serves to elevate Ferreira's contemplative lyrics. And this is really an incredible track, incredible album, but definitely a highlight here.
My number 6 is The Gates by Aesop Rock. It took me a little bit to decide on which Aesop Rock song I wanted on this list, but I decided on The Gates, the first single from his newest record. Aesop is just able to cut through this beat in a way that feels so smooth. He feels so smooth and like natural on it. His rapping is incredibly vivid and creative with these dense, intricate rhymes and flows. His flow and like demeanor on the track almost remind me of Eminem, but like better in most ways. I love the beat, especially this very catchy, repeated, like 8-bit alternating tone that goes on throughout the entire song, and it just adds so much to this like psychedelic atmosphere that he creates on not only this track, but the entire album.
The top 5 now. Top 5, I have Food House, aka Guppy and Fraxium, with Most Thoser. Guppy and Fraxium dropped a lot of bangers this year. This one definitely stuck out to me for just how incredibly fun this track is. I can't think of another song this year that calls cops pigs, samples Crazy Frog, and rhymes poggers with Frogger, all on the same track. I've been listening to this song non-stop since it dropped. It's so fun, super catchy, banging beat. Not one of the most serious songs on this list, definitely, but I love it so much. It's so much fun.
Number 5 on my list, I have Model Village by Idols. This was on Brendan's list too. This is such an incredibly catchy post-punk track. I love the bass line and how well their lead singer works with all these instruments that they bring in on the song. I know you said that you thought it was like a metaphor for just the right. I think I took it more as like talking about these kind of like isolated villages, specifically in England, where many people are very right-leaning, and how despite thinking that this is like kind of like the perfect like ideal the society to live in, they're actually like pretty awful. You kind of have the introduction to that where they kind of introduce the village first and then start stripping away the paint, essentially chipping at the cracks to like kind of show you the underside of everything that happens there. I think is a great track.
Coming in at number 4, I have Run the Jewels featuring Gangsta Boo with their track Walking in the Snow. This is easily the most powerful track off of the very fortunately timed RTJ4. This track sees Killer Mike, LP, and Gangsta Boo rapping over some very well put together production, very kind of fast paced, feels like walking, talking about police brutality and a state which systematically oppresses black people as well as other minorities, talking about how children from lower income areas are imprisoned more, get worse education, all these things. This song quotes Eric Garner's last words, which would be shared by George Floyd this year, in a very unfortunate event of history repeating itself with the words, "I can't breathe." This is a very powerful and well-timed track and a great example of what makes the new Run the Jewels album so fantastic.
My number 4 is Bald by JPEGMAFIA. I love this track. It's so much fun. It has this great rolling synth that kind of underlies the whole track with, I don't know, these like glistening highlights throughout. Peggy is so charismatic on this song. His rapping is just infectious, and it's just it's a great track, and Peggy is bald. There you go.
At number 3, I have Fiona Apple with Cosmonauts. I had a hard time deciding my favorite track off the new Fiona Apple record because I love it all so much, but Cosmonauts is a track that I just keep coming back to. I interpret this track to be about how despite the fact that a relationship may have imperfections, it can carry a lot of weight with it. Those feelings can be kind of shed in favor of that raw and pure emotion of just being in love. Yes, it's a love ballad, but what really makes this song is Fiona's incredible vocal performance, really showing her vocal chops on this track. She has a very powerful voice and so much passion to the point where she's almost screaming, and the very quiet piano really letting Fiona take the front stage on this song works out so well. Just an absolutely beautiful song.
My number 3 is Take It Back V2 by Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats. Just an absolute banger of a track. Denzel is just so aggressive and charismatic on this song. His energy is just infectious. I love his flows on this track, especially the beat switch where like his vocals are pitch shifted downwards. It's fantastic. The production is amazing throughout. Kenny Beats really showing how good of a producer he is on this track. It sounds incredible.
Coming in at number 2, or in the top 2, I have Galen Tipton under the Recovery Girl project with Don't Be My Light. This is the closer to Galen Tipton's Recovery Girl EP, and this track serves as kind of a summation of the entire project, the feelings that have been put on display up to this point. This is one of the more emotional tracks lyrically, dealing with the intricacies of relationships and how toxic relationships can affect people, specifically how they kind of give and take hope, and all of this is put on top of some heavy glitchcore production. Makes for an absolutely banger of a track, one of the more inaccessible and aggressive on the EP as well. Definitely a track I love.
Number 2 for me is Anything by Adrianne Lenker. This is just one of the most beautiful folk songs I've ever heard. I absolutely love the guitar on it. This track is very stripped back, but you have kind of layered guitar playing on it. This track is just so beautiful and melancholic feeling. The lyrics are just kind of about this longing to be with this other person. Everything is so vivid and beautiful. I absolutely adore this track.
Number 1. This is it. This is my favorite song of 2020. I have Charli XCX with Anthems. I don't think there's a single other song this year that came out that can describe 2020 better than Charli XCX's Anthems. This track sees Charli delving into how she feels during quarantine. I think of the most depth of any song on the album. How she's spending her time, she's working in a garden, trying to keep busy all these times, but still longing for the past, wanting to go to parties, wanting to get out and do what makes her happy. But despite all this, Charli's kind of looking forward, looking with hope. At the end of this whole quarantine, people will be better people, which it's good to be hopeful. Don't know how true it will be, but it's definitely good to be hopeful. On top of all this, fantastic production on this track. You have these hard-hitting synth lines, this metallic percussion, really comes together. Great. It's great. Song of the year, 2020, Charli XCX, Anthems.
My number 1 song of the year is Walking in the Snow by Run the Jewels. Brendan mentioned it before. I personally don't think any song describes 2020 better than this one. Whereas Anthems deals with quarantine and everything, this song deals with the current feelings of injustice within the US better than I think any other song this year does. Maybe any other song. This is a really incredible track from Run the Jewels. LP and Killer Mike really upped their game on this track. The lyrics are incredible. There's some fantastic lines on this track. Like, you have LP saying at one point, all due respect, if getting spit on's how respect is now defined. You have Killer Mike's verse, especially on this track, I think is incredibly powerful. Him talking about all of the injustice currently, or the racial injustice and racism present in the police force, but also how people are now like apathetic to it. Or well, I mean, people were always apathetic to it, but like how everyone is partially at fault for this essentially, because you don't do anything about it. You just get angry. You say, you know, as he says, the most you give is a Twitter rant and call it a tragedy. You don't actually do anything about the system. Yeah, I think it just creates an incredibly powerful message. I also love the production on the track. It's super dark sounding. It matches the tone of the track perfectly. Yeah, I think this track's incredible. Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what your favorite songs of the year were. Yeah, we got one more video coming out after this. It's the top 25 albums of the year vid, and then list week's over. I hope you have a good day.